What's up, everyone? So there's Echo something or other. What is it? PB-200. That bogs heavily when you first start it. Or excuse me, it will start, but it will bog heavily. And as you can tell, the owner wants to make sure everyone knows what type of fuel is in there, which I'm actually glad to see. But in addition to that, every time you prime it, it starts to leak fuel out of the grommet. So I think the grommet's getting a little bad. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to replace the fuel grommet and see if that has anything to do with it. I don't think so, but we will at least attempt, and if it doesn't, then you can at least see what's going on. I just want to fix that first, because when you do prime it, it just leaks all over, and I don't want to have to waste fuel, considering there's about $6 worth in there. Okay, probably not $6 worth, but it's still expensive. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's a horrible color either. I took out a small piece of it, and it seems fine. So I'm going to take off this air filter cover just to give us a little bit more room. Okay, so now we'll disconnect the fuel lines. It was easier than I was expecting. And then we'll remove this, which is very gummy. We don't really need this open anymore. Granted, there shouldn't be any pressure in this tank because, well, it's leaking, but in general, if you're ever disconnecting fuel lines, you're going to want to open the fuel cap on these. You might get a spritz in the face, and you just hope that no one sees it. Oh yeah, this thing is just coming apart. Take out a fuel line or two and see if that makes this any easier. Nope, just ripping right out and right apart too. Ah, we are so close. Ironically, when they get gummy like this is when they're really hard to remove, as you can tell. I'm going to need a little heavier set of pliers. Try fuel line pliers, that might give us some added benefit. There we go. Okay, that goes in the trash. And let us look and see. It's a little hard to tell because it's kind of obstructed, but I believe the fuel line or the fuel inlet is right here. This is the return. And then to make putting this grommet a little easier, I'm going to coat it with some WD. In addition to that, I removed the fuel return line. That way it has a little compression ability, a little additional compression ability. When you do this, make sure the fuel line is going that way. That way you don't have to worry about it jamming up or anything. Now this is a real pain real big pain. And more or less, I like to get one side and then take a screwdriver and very gently press in the other side. I need to take the cap off. Uh-oh. Sometimes I'll even take out this line too, which I might as well. This is legitimately the worst part about this job. Just putting this grommet inside. Other than that, replacing the fuel line isn't all that difficult. I'm going to fiddle with that, and I will be back. Now that that is in place, I'm going to take a pair of scissors. I'm going to take the other end of the vent. I'm going to cut a slot into it, or like an angle, like so. There's really no particular order this has to go in, but I'm going to put a little oil in both of these slots. Again, you don't have to remove this, but I find it to be much easier with these two out. Let's get a pair of pliers. I don't really like these black lines. They're a lot harder. I might just put some plastic ones in there. But you know what? No, I don't think I will. We are in there. I'm gonna do the same, except I'm gonna need to push that down a little bit farther. Okay, it's all in there. Like I said, I like this line better. I'm not gonna do both. I'm just gonna do one. I'm gonna coat it with some. It's okay if it dips in the fuel tank. It's just WD. But this is for the return. And the benefit of doing it this way is you can take a pair of needle nose and just pull it down. Now, I've already attached the other one, the fuel line, so we just have to attach this one and we should be set. It might be too far down actually. Of course. I am all thumbs today. Just literally all thumbs. It's close enough. Let's go ahead and just attach this, and then we'll pull it down to a more appropriate level once it's on the carb. There we go. push it up there pretty decently. Oops, I was pulling on the vent. Well, you get the point. I'm going to pull out that vent a little bit and suck that down. Now it comes down in time to check it. Let's see. Okay, so fuel is coming out of the return. Let's put the cap back on and see if it leaks. Put it right side. A little bit of fuel was doused out when I tipped it over a little bit too far, so that's normal. Well, that's not normal, but to have been expected. Okay, let's see. Primer bulb is filling up. I do not see any leaking, so I think we have at least the fuel line. Let's wipe up the excess oil here. Taken care of. Is that leaking? It looks like it's fine. Okay. I wiped it up and gave it another prime. It's not leaking, so I'm happy with that. Let's give it a pull. It was a little deceiving. I didn't think I saw any fuel there, but couldn't quite tell. Let's give it some choke. No choke. Wants to. That didn't really help now, did it? It's definitely rich. Excess of smoke. Kind of gave it away. So, someone once wrote on a comment that they really wanted to see me remove these little plastic clips. It's really not all that hard. But basically, depending on which clip it is, sometimes just a simple pair of pliers. We might have to do the red one first. Probably have to do the red one first. Or a screwdriver will just take it right off. Not in our case. So we're just gonna take it off like that. Real simple. Hopefully you saw that my hand wasn't all the way in your face. Wait a minute. That's steel. Huh, okay. Well, let us... That revealed a flat head. Let's twist this in a little bit and see if that helps at all. If not, we'll have to do a little carb work. Like a 2/3 of a turn, or 1/3 of a turn. Let's see if let's see if that helped. More likely than not, it didn't do anything, but it's not like we can't find out, huh? took the little anti-tamper thing off. I put it on choke and I forgot about it, so it's a little flooded. I see smoke. That's interesting. I think my main problem was I was not releasing like the, I don't know, autopilot, whatever you would consider it. Let's turn the idle up a little bit and then give this a pull. Full throttle though. I think we might have a carb problem. I'm going to double check that fuel real quick just to make sure. I must have been completely off when I said the fuel looked fine, because it didn't really look fine. I mean, it's not like the worst I've ever seen, but it's definitely aged. So I poured it out. Going to empty out as much as I can out of the primer bulb. Try to evacuate the carb as much as possible. And yes, it's going into the tank, but you know what? It's going to be so diluted with good fuel, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to fill this up about a quarter to a third of the way. Maybe like halfway. This is a pretty small tank. Now in there is Echo Armor and non-ethanol fuel purchased about 2-3 weeks ago. So that fuel was more than fresh, and Echo Armor is probably the best 2-cycle oil you could possibly ever buy, in my opinion. Okay, so I'm going to over prime it just to try to get the rest of it out. Let's give it a pull. If this doesn't work, we're definitely going to have to do a little work on it, but let's at least give it a try. Well, look at that. Who would have guessed? It just doesn't have that geriatric fuel. This thing's in desperate need of a new fuel filter, so we're gonna, or excuse me, air filter. We're going to give it what it needs. New filter. And then we're gonna go to run a little bit with the filter on. Yeah, let's do this. Let's see what happens. That is very odd. Let's try this again. Choke. It is on. If I do that enough, it will work, but that's not acceptable. I don't think 27 pulls is really a good idea. So I'm gonna take off the carb. Just, it comes right off. You saw pretty much half of it anyway. And we'll get working on it. Nah, you might as well watch. Now this has a little dot on the head, which means this is a JIS screw. So I'm going to use a JIS screwdriver or a flathead. If you want to be that way. Cracked the tank. So when we take this off, it's not going to explode everywhere. There we go. Oh no, did the linkage come undone? No, it did not. Okay, that's good. Well, let's get back to work. It's an interesting carb. Is this a Walbro? Oh, it's a Zama. Usually, Echoes have a Walbro carb. The older ones, I guess, do not. I don't do too many of these older echoes. Is this nice and hard? That's not great. Not horrible, but not great. Clean my hands and let's take off some of the other pieces. This doesn't come off cleanly, it's just not going to. Like, I know that is, but I don't think the gasket's wanting to. Maybe not. Might be cooperating now. It's gonna dump fuel. Okay. Well, we have a half, a little under 1. I really would like if the other one would come out too. Maybe clean this up a little bit. Never mind, there's not a low. That's where the low would be. It's just a high. Okay. Well, it's moving forward. Let's take out the rest. Okay, I'm gonna put this in the ultrasonic cleaner. Where is my Tecumseh bowl? Tecumseh bowl. Ah, there it is. In the bowl goes this, this, and why not that, and that. And I'll be back. Everything's clean and dry. Now I don't have a full carb kit, but I do have a new diaphragm. So I'm going to take off the old one. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it's best that we get it changed out. Make sure the needle is clean and dry. And this part is always a real fun time. There we go. Slip the needle in first. Make sure the spring is good to go. Now to slide this over so it slips into its little home. Unfortunately, my hands kind of block a lot of view, but more or less, I just have the needle in my hand along with the little arm, and then I put the needle in first, and then there's a little indentation right there where the spring will sit. It just kind of keeps it in place. And that's it. Pretty, well, it's not easy, but it's pretty simple. Let's just put it that way. It could be a real pain, don't you worry. But once you do it enough times, it's not too bad. I also do not have another fuel pump, but it also doesn't look like it's in bad shape. Those rarely go out anyway. They're definitely a lot more stout. Make sure it's clean. Now this is very smooth and machined, so just know that the machined side always goes with the diaphragm, not the gasket. How do I have another one? Is this the right one? It is the right one. Very good. Usually the clear ones, there's only about 2 different sizes. There is a red one, however, that is a little bit hard. If you do have a red one, I think Craftsman uses them. They're just a little bit different. But the white one, there's a small one, or the clear one, I should say. There's a small version, and there's a larger version. I think there might be another one, but I've probably seen it like 2 times. Majority of them are just going to be the other 2 sizes. Okay. Looks good. Now let's put this in here. We said it was almost 1, but it was getting a little, and it wasn't running on the greatest fuel either, and it was not wanting to start, so let's do 1 1/4. If we have to lean it out, we can lean it out and put it on the machine. So the diaphragm, this one, it's probably the reason why, potentially the reason why it was flooding over. When it gets stiff like that, it will either just kind of leave everything open so it won't get fuel at all, or it will push it down, a little needle down, having consistent fuel. I think, while it wasn't flooding, I just think that the lack of movement in there was just causing a variety of problems. But it's primed. We are on choke. Let's give it a pull. Actually, no choke. Maybe choke. That's significantly better. Okay, so what do we do? New fuel lines, new fuel grommet, new primer bulb, new metering diaphragm. Cleaned it out, obviously. New fuel with good oil. And look at that. Runs like a champ. I did have to turn it out to where I think was probably originally at the 1.5. The 1.5, yeah. So, other than that, that should be about it. Now, if you have other problems, you really won't be experiencing bogging unless it was on choke, and choke can be in the front or the other side. If we did this, then I would be checking the muffler, see if it was carboned up. If the muffler wasn't, I'd check the exhaust port and see if that has some buildup. So that would be my suspicion on the initial bogging. That would be the majority of the issue. You could have others, but for this one, it's pretty simple. We had bad gas, bad fuel lines, but probably been sitting for a while, and here we are. Like what you see, keep watching, subscribe, follow me on Small Engine 101, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a nice night.